What's happening, everybody? Avery, Braxton here for ABC 24. We're doing a 24th floor on the road covering our Memphis Tigers. They are obviously out in Seattle taking on the Colorado State Rams. I got my friends here along with me. This is Jonah Dillard from the Commercial Appeal and Tigers beat writer for the Daily Memphian, Parth Upadhyay. Guys, what's happening, man? Easy trip out to Seattle? You good?
Not so easy, but we're out here now. Look at this amazing backdrop that we've got right now in Climate Pledge Arena.
Yeah, my photographer was saying we're between two ferns. That's gonna be the new name of the show, Between Two Ferns. Partha, how was your trip out here, man?
It was cool. It was cool. Had to lay over in Detroit and hang out there for a few hours, but all said, it's been a cool trip, and I've enjoyed Seattle so far.
Yeah, Climate Pledge Arena, the house that Sue Storm built, right? This is where the Seattle Storm play. This is also where the Seattle Kraken play. And if the NBA fans have anything to say about it, maybe they'll get another NBA team back in here because the Supersonics used to play here as well. But this weekend,
they deserve one, man. Look at this facility.
This facility is so nice. It's beautiful in here. It's been really cool to kind of see how they've revamped this whole thing. But this weekend, it'll be about some college basketball. Memphis, the 5 seed, taking on Colorado State, will be a 12 seed. Colorado State actually picked as the favorite, which I think is really interesting for this. 2.5 points or 3.5 points, depending on what sportsbook you gamble with or anything like that. But when you guys kind of first saw the draw that they got, not necessarily who was going to pick to be the winner, but when you saw the draw, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought obviously Penny called it a blessing that Memphis is a 5 seed. Of course, you get the 5 seed, but then you have to go all the way to Seattle, and you're matched up with the hottest 12 seed in the country, right? In the Colorado State Rams, who have won 10 straight games, or the Mountain West Conference tournament champions, have a guy who's playing at All-American level, right? And Nick Clifford. So it's not an easy matchup, especially not with Tyrese Hunter out. And I think that kind of explains the whole betting lines thing, right? You've got Tyrese Hunter out, Dante Harris, who we'll talk about that in a little bit, I'm sure, but likely may play, may not play, who knows? He won't be 100%, right, even if he does play. So you've got those two guys either hampered or out entirely. That plus the metrics kind of favor CSU, so it makes sense why Colorado State is the betting favorite. That's not to say that I think CSU is gonna win or run away with it, but it just kind of makes sense why odds makers think so.
Yeah, certainly a team that's very hot right now. They won 10 in a row. They just won the Mountain West Conference, so you guys can probably hear the arena sounds as they get ready for all these games that are going to come through tomorrow. Jonah, when you saw this draw, what did you think about what the Tigers have coming up against them?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we were talking about, Memphis, as late as an hour right before this selection show, thought that it was probably going to be an 8 seed or a 7 seed. And you thought that was going to be the narrative coming into this game. If Memphis was an 8 seed, was going to be the disrespect that the committee had showed to them. That obviously went away when you saw that 5 seed. But like you said, that betting line immediately brought it back, right? Because people are picking Colorado State to win straight up as a 12 seed over a 5 seed. And so to me, that gives Memphis, obviously, Penny Hardaway has talked about it, a really obvious source of motivation. I think they've clearly taken that into this game. They talked about it today. Penny talked about it on Tuesday before they got on the road, and it feels like they're feeling disrespected by people. And it's like that line opened, and if everyone had disagreed, the line would have moved. It didn't. A lot of people are still picking Colorado State to win, and that's going to be a big storyline coming into tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the NCAA tournament, that 5 seed, 12 seed is always kind of the matchup that people are not necessarily expecting an upset, but if there's going to be one, that's kind of where you think it might land. And so far, so it looks like a lot of the odds makers, your ESPN favorites, all those kind of guys are picking Colorado State to beat Memphis. But, and you guys can both speak to this, you've been in the city for a couple of times, like Memphis kind of, as a city and as their individual teams, kind of thrives in that area where they're being disrespected or underestimated. Do you think that's true, Jonah?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've been using that all season. That's why they were so successful in non-conference play, right? Like, they talked about that going into Maui of nobody picked them to beat UConn, nobody picked them to beat Michigan State, and they went and won those games. And then when we got to AAC play, it changed because it was the opposite. Every team was coming after Memphis, and they didn't have that kind of edge. And you would kind of think, okay, Memphis is coming into this as the 5 seed. They're not going to have that kind of an edge. But then you get that betting line, and they have it with what's happening with Tyrese Hunter and with Dante Harris. It's another source of this team can't win. They can't win without this person. They can't do this. And like you said, it's not just the Tigers. Everybody in Memphis, every team in Memphis thrives on that kind of energy. And so you can see how that's going to play a part tomorrow.
Parth, let me ask you. Obviously, Colorado State is a really strong team, but they've won 10 in a row. But Memphis is also riding their own hot streak. I think eight wins in a row for Memphis. What are they doing well right now?
Yeah, I think they're obviously sharing the ball well, right? Like even when Tyrese Hunter went out, obviously you saw kind of a frazzled Tigers offense in the first the first half of the first half, right, against
Yeah.
UAB. But once things settled down, you saw that ball kind of go everywhere. And they're starting to play, or not starting to, they've been playing over the past 8-10 games through Dane Danger, right? When they're in the half court, the ball goes inside to him, and his gravitational pull is so heavy that he's drawing defenders in and kicking it right back out to shooters like Colby Rodgers and shooters like PJ Carter and others in the perimeter. So I think when all else has failed, in the half court at least, that ball's going inside to their star big man who's playing at an All-American level. And then they're also causing a lot of disruption. You saw Memphis turn UAB over, I think it was 15 times, and score 20-something points off of those turnovers. So that's kind of been a source of their offensive success, so to speak.
Yeah, Dane Danger has kind of turned into a double machine, especially since he's gotten put in that starting lineup. And I really say over the last like seven to 8 games, I mean, really played well. He was an all-tournament team for the AAC, and they're out there in Fort Worth. Colorado State, you guys mentioned it earlier. They have a All-American level, even if he's not an All-American, in Nick Clifford. What does he do well that makes Colorado State kind of one of a dangerous team and the favorite in this matchup?
I think everything, right?
Yeah.
Like he leads them in points, rebounds, assists, and steals while shooting like 38%, I believe it is, from 3, which is crazy, right? The ball's kind of always in his hands, and he's surrounded by 3 or 4 shooters at all times, it seems like. So they don't have a lot of size, obviously. We've talked about that, and we will talk about that, I'm sure, in a little bit here. But what they've got is just great ball movement, great off-ball movement, guys cutting, guys flawlessly moving. Penny Hardaway called the offense beautiful, right? It's exactly what it is with Nick Clifford's ability to both score for himself and draw defenders in and spread that wealth around his teammates as well.
What do you think, Jonah, about what Colorado State's able to do, what they've been able to do the last couple of games?
Yeah, well, like we just talked about, they've won 10 games in a row, and so this is one of the hottest teams. They came into the Mountain West Conference tournament really on the bubble, and they needed to win that conference tournament to ensure they would make it. And the fact that they're a 12 seed probably means they wouldn't have made it if they hadn't won those games. And so Penny said they're one of the hottest team on the West Coast. They're one of the hottest teams in the country, without a doubt, right? Now that we're on the West Coast, I guess we can say that here in Seattle. But look, this team is playing really well, and that's one of the reasons, obviously. I know people were surprised by the betting line, obviously. Look, that's one of the reasons for it is what Nick Clifford does as a player, and then also just how hot this team is with what they've been doing recently. They found something that clicks, and it's been working for them, and they're going to keep doing the same thing in that game tomorrow.
Yeah, Nick Clifford, all Mountain West, first team all Mountain West, 19 points, 9 boards a game. The Colorado State Rams as a team, the number 1 3-point shooting team in the Mountain West, 36%, 55th in the nation, so not in the upper echelon, but still a really good shooting team. We've seen that kind of make the Tigers stumble here and there when they're having to play defense. They're obviously a great defensive team when they play in the full court, the three-quarter court, but sometimes when you kind of have to sit in it, and then another team can get hot from 3, that can kind of spell issues for Memphis, especially if they have one of their slower starts, like we've kind of seen them do. We talk about the injuries. Tyrese Hunter, we kind of announced it himself. Penny Hardaway kind of tried to play it cool, like, I don't really have an update on Tyrese.
Gotta love open locker room.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I think Penny forgot about the open locker room, so these guys actually went in there and spoke to Tyrese directly and was like, yeah, I'm not going to play tomorrow. You guys shouldn't expect me tomorrow. He was in the boot while the Tigers were practicing on the floor today. For you guys, how do the Tigers adjust with no Tyrese Hunter, and then at the same time, it looked like Dante Harris is going to maybe give it a go, or maybe not play tomorrow, but play Sunday. We don't really know yet. But when you guys talk to him out, and for both of you guys can answer this, what did you kind of, the vibe that you kind of get from either one of them?
Yeah, well, first of all, Tyrese Hunter, like you said, told us in the locker room he's not going to play. I did see him out there in the walking boot hitting a couple of threes with the boot on, so maybe he can still play.
Maybe he can lace him up. So
I don't know if you're allowed.
I don't
know if you're allowed to wear a walking boot on the court, but if you are, then it would be worth having Tyrese Hunter out there. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously he's not going to play. He's still going to contribute. He told me he's going to sit by the coaches basically and be a coach for tomorrow's game, even though he said coaching is definitely not in his future. He was very clear about that in the locker room. Dante Harris, if you were out here for open practice like we were, Dante Harris he wasn't going through the full practice, but he was going through a version of a workout, especially towards the end.
Individual drills.
He was trying to lift off his foot and take some jumpers, step into them, take some threes, and see how it felt like. I saw him go all the way around the court shooting threes, and so he obviously didn't look 100%, but he looked like he is at least progressing towards being able to play, right? He doesn't have a boot on his foot anymore or anything like that. And what he said was basically that. He said he doesn't want to be a liability for the team. So he's not going to come back unless he's fully ready. And we've heard Penny Hardaway say that as well, right? He said, Dante's the kind of player where he can't come back unless he's really ready to go with how he's going to operate and what he's going to do. But he's definitely closer. And I mean, if he was able to play, it would be a huge boost because obviously he's the guy who would come in for Tyrese Hunter as he did that game earlier this season when Tyrese Hunter missed it.
Same kind of question to you. How do the Tigers adjust with no Tyrese Hunter, no Dante Harris, presumably? And I mean, you can answer this as well, but it probably does help the Tigers that they've already had a game or two under their belt where they've had to operate without those guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've only had that one game without both of them. They had one without Tyrese. I think it was Temple at home where Tyrese was out and Dante filled in. But then, like Jonah said, you had Dante, right? So you had at least one veteran guy running the offense and being that floor general. I think what we saw from the Tigers entirely in the second half, right, against the Blazers, which was just disruption and chaos and getting out in transition and not trying to score in the half court, is what they need to do again. Because when you're doing that, you don't have to have somebody, right, like running plays. You don't have to have somebody organizing, facilitating. You're kind of using your defensive intensity and tenacity in order to generate offense. And I think if they can do that with Baraka Koji at the head of that snake, that's kind of his forte, right? That would help a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Let's kind of talk about where some of these guys are. You bring up Baraka, which is a really good point. You guys out there in production land, you guys can bring up this full screen because we talked about how the Tigers going to have to meet the moment, and in particular, it's going to be on those guards like a Baraka Okogie, some of these guys who are used to being in the game, but have to actually take on bigger, larger roles here in the NCAA tournament. So what Penny Hardaway had to say about the moment and not letting the lights kind of be too bright is, I think you can only say, just don't let the moment overwhelm you. That's easy for me to say because in the NCAA tournament, you have this nervous energy that attacks guys, right? Sometimes you think that you need to do more, but less is more, if that makes sense. You just have to go out and play the game the way that we have it lined up, stick to the game plan, and everything else will be fine. Now, when I was talking about my live shots for TV, I was kind of saying, well, you know, Penny Hardaway can think back to his own playing days, right, when he took the Tigers back to the Elite Eight in 1992. But do you think he has the right idea there in saying, like, hey, I just need you guys to just don't do too much, just do just enough? And do you think they've kind of already had a taste of that from the AAC tournament?
Yeah, I think when guys try to play outside their roles or feel this onus or pressure to do more than they've been doing all season, I mean, now's not really the time for that, right? That's when turnovers happen. That's when miscues happen. That's when guys are on different pages. But the Tigers are built in such a way where players have fallen into roles so cleanly this season. You know, unlike last year where there was a lot of overlap and a lot of guys trying to do some of the same things. You don't see that this season. Obviously, it's tougher now because you've got, they've got 9 players available. 9. You know, one guy was a walk-on like 3 months ago, Dink Yates. He was rewarded a scholarship during the season. The other guy, Jared Harris, has played all of, I think, 49, 50 minutes, something like that. So you've got really 7 guys who are part of your core rotation, 2 guys who are being thrust into the spotlight here on this stage in Seattle. But even with that being said, if those guys can just serve as, not to diminish their roles, but just serve as extra bodies, right? Just be out there. And less is more. I think what Penny means, if I had to interpret that, is, you know, it's better that you kind of play within the system than try to give us more and hurt us, right? Like shoot us in the foot. So if they can just go out there and serve as extra bodies and kind of play team defense and play within the offense on that side of the ball, that would certainly help.
Yeah, I think with Baraka in particular, you just kind of have to set it up, get it to PJ, and let PJ do a lot of the work. When you hear what Penny had to say about just kind of not letting the moment be too much for you in the moment, what did you hear from there, Jonah?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what Part said, I think it's if Baraka Okogie is going to come into the starting lineup, right, like he can't come in and try to be Tyrese Hunter because that's not going to work. Tyrese Hunter does specific things, and we've seen Baraka play all season. He's got a different kind of edge to him, and a lot of it, like Penny said, it starts with defense and intensity. He's just going to have to bring more of that. Now, like obviously, like you just said, he's got to get the ball to PJ Haggerty. He's got to be able to facilitate and run the offense, because if he's not able to, then you get in a situation where PJ Haggerty has to basically play point guard or Colby Rogers has to be on the ball more. And then you're really changing what you're doing offensively in a pretty significant way. And so, look, it's a lot for Baraka Okogie if he's the guy, and if Dante Harris is, again, out tomorrow, it's a lot for him to deal with. I will say, last time he had to do it, they had, 24 hours to figure it out, and now they've had 3 or 4 days. So you would think that in those last 4 days, in terms of the conversations the coaching staff has been having, that's probably been the biggest thing, is how do we get everybody ready for these roles, and how do we get him ready to do that on Friday?
Yeah, I think the thing too is they are a guard-oriented team, but the way they've been playing has been very inside out as of late. I mean, PJ Haggerty can kind of get his any way he has to, in the sense that like he can play off ball and be okay. He can be ball dominant, but what they've been doing a lot of is giving the ball to Dane Danger, right? They give it to him in that high post area, kind of around the free throw line, around the elbow, and then they just kind of let him make decisions. And for the most part, he's done pretty good, either just scoring when he wants to, and getting to the basket, or making pretty good decisions when they send double teams at him or anything else like that. Now, what I will say about Dane is, he can get a little too Harlem Globetrotters at times and turn the ball over. And I think Penny Hardaway's probably had to get in his ear hole about that a couple of times, because he's had some 3-4 turnover games. But I think if they can play more inside out and not, force Baraka to make offensive decisions, I think, they'll be in a really, really good spot. As for the rest of the game for tomorrow, obviously Memphis taking on Colorado State. They are going to be the underdogs. So we're going to bring up this last quote from Dane Danger. I'll give production a minute to do that. But -2.5, -3.5. So people are expecting this to be kind of a pick 'em, a toss-up kind of game. But for the Tigers, they're probably pretty used to being underestimated. So here's what Dane Danger had to say. I feel like at the end of the day, we're just here to do our jobs. We know who we are, the media and all that. We don't really pay attention to that. They're going to see at the end of the day. They're going to see
Talking about us?
at the end of the day. The media and all that. I would assume he's
Wow,
talking about
you're
those,
taking it personal.
the ESPN and CBS guys of the world. Maybe not so much us, but when you hear Dane say that they're going to see at the end of the day, you think that chip is on Memphis' shoulder?
Well, it's like we talked about earlier, right? They're looking for a motivation, looking for a way for everybody to be against them, and they are in that sense in this game. I think Dane Danger has played like that all season. I mean, like the feud with Yaxel Lindenberg, right? That's
Right.
A lot of it was like creating things going into games, especially the second and the third UAB games. That was a big deal. And I think, like you said before, he's going to have a huge role to play. I think he tied his season high with 4 assists in the win on Sunday without Tyrese Hunter. And so if you're wondering, like, Tyrese Hunter is going to be out, how are they going to cope with it? It's everybody has to chip in terms of facilitation, and even Dane Danger accounts for that. If he gets the ball in the post, he's getting double teamed. You got to be able to pass out of it, and it's not something he's had to do a lot this season. But I think tomorrow, especially, Colorado State is not a big team. The biggest guy they play consistently is 6'8".
They should dominate in the post. Yeah.
Yeah, but it means probably if nobody can guard Dane Danger one-on-one, you're going to have to bring double teams. You have to have a lot of bodies in there, and that means you got to find the open guy, especially if it's in the corner, if it's someone at the top of the key, or if it's a dump off when Memphis goes to the 2 big lineup with Musa Cisse. I think those are big for Dane Danger as a playmaker, not just as a scorer. We've seen so much of him as a scorer. And the emotion of how much it means when he gets those big baskets, 3-point plays, things like that. I think getting him the ball and making the right decision is going to be the biggest thing for him tomorrow.
What do you think about what Dane had to say there about the underdog mentality Memphis has got, Parth?
Yeah, I mean, to add on to what Jonas said, I think this team loves that, right? This team loves to be doubted. They went to Maui and essentially said, hey, nobody thinks we can win this. Let's go out and try to do it. And they almost did it, right? Like, obviously, they ran into a buzzsaw there in Auburn and Janai Broome and lost by 14, but they beat UConn. Nobody thought they'd do that. They beat Michigan State. Thomas was a Hall of Fame coach, and they went through the Spartans there. Nobody believed him then. Nobody believed him when they went to Little John Coliseum and beat, I think it was a number 16 ranked Clemson team at that time in mid-December. So in this spot, they've thrived time and time again with their backs against the wall, with people doubting them, with the clippings being out there, whatever you want to call it. This is just another thing to take and then slap on his players' shoulders and say, hey, let's go out and prove them wrong again.
Yeah, I would say for Penny, he probably prefers that his team have a little extra edge going into the game as opposed to being relaxed, thinking, we did our job with a 5 seed and now we got an easy matchup. What we know about NCAA tournaments is that upsets do happen, and we've already had 1 or 2. So go ahead and bring up that full screen of all the scores that we've had from the NCAA thus far. The 1 seeds have taken care of business so far. We saw what happened with that last year with Purdue, but Auburn over Alabama State and Memphis Tiger Tony Matlock, which was a cool story for a minute. Tony Matlock getting their first win for Alabama State. Houston beats SIU Edwardsville. Wisconsin, the 3 seed, beats Montana 85-66. Purdue over High Point, no surprise there. McNeese State with the stunner pulling the 12-5 upset over Clemson.
Yeah, they were smacking them too.
They were smacking them. For a while, it wasn't close, but Clemson did make that run to keep it close again. BYU beats VCU 80-71. Creighton over Louisville in the 8-9 matchup, and then the other 8-9 matchup, Gonzaga puts a whooping on my hometown Georgia Bulldogs, which hurt my feelings, but it's all good. But that upset, 69-67, McNeese over Clemson. That is a 12-5. I know you guys didn't get to watch a lot of it. We're doing a lot of writing, but are you surprised, or what you think?
Yeah, I think 12-5s. Sorry, Memphis fans, they always happen, right?
They do happen.
And if you're a Tigers fan, if you're Penny Hardaway, you're hoping it's not them. But for one of them to come to fruition today, I don't think it was surprising. And McNeese has been hot, right? Will Wade can coach, we know that. That team had plenty to play for. Will Wade's also a former Clemson, alum. Like, he's a Clemson alum. He's a Tiger. So that game was personal to him, and I think that's what you saw manifest itself in those 40 minutes of play.
Anything surprise you about McNeese State and Clemson or any of those other matchups?
Yeah, because Will Wade has already pretty much said he's leaving and going
he's
to
got a
NC
new job.
State. So I thought like yesterday, people were talking about McNeese is going to win because they've obviously been playing really hot. But then that news breaks, and he doesn't even really deny it in the pregame press conference yesterday. And I'm thinking, if I'm a player on McNeese, what am I thinking right now, right? Knowing that he's going to leave.
Take me with you.
but all that going on in your head, and you're playing a Clemson team that's got a lot of seniors, right? Like they've done a lot of winning. They went to the Sweet 16 last year. And I know they came back late, but they were doing well. They were winning. And so the only thing for Memphis, my colleague Jason Munz tweeted this out, maybe that got the 12-5 upset out of the way. So
right.
if you're a Memphis fan, now you don't have to worry because it already happened. So there you go. Shout out to McNeese for that if you're a Tigers fan.
All right, so 1-12-5 upset has already happened. So Jonah Dillon, you heard it here first. The 12-5 upset is nothing to worry about.
I don't know about that.
Memphis will roll tomorrow. They do take on Colorado State. That'll be 1 o'clock Central Time, 11 o'clock here on the West Coast here in Seattle. In Climate Pledge Arena, I called it Civic Pledge Arena earlier, and Jonah has not let me live it down once. So Climate Pledge Arena, that'll be 11 o'clock tip-off local time. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on the 24th floor, on the road. Parth Apadia for the Daily Memphian, Jonah Dillon for the Commercial Appeal. We will see you guys. We're going to keep trying to do these maybe at least once a day. We'll see about the same time tomorrow. Appreciate you guys, and we are out. We'll see you